Welcome, sleepy stargazers, to another quiet journey into the realm of ancient tales. Tonight, as the world settles into slumber, we'll venture to the heart of the cosmos, where the mighty sun god, Ra, faces his nightly challenge. We'll learn about his unending battle against the formidable serpent of chaos, Apophis. Snuggle in close, close your eyes, and let's drift into the shadows where light and darkness dance. But just before we begin, if our stories help you drift off, please tap the like and subscribe buttons. In my channel, you can find Norse, Greek, and Egyptian mythology tales. Comment and tell me which myth you'd like to hear next. Your support helps us craft and shape more calm stories for fellow night owls. And now let your shoulders sink softly into the mattress and your mind drift into today's tale. The slumbering darkness began to stir. A faint, golden light pulsed. It grew from deep within the Jewett, the underworld's mysterious realm. This light was not from a star. It was not from a moon. It was Ra. He was the great sun god. His awakening was a slow, deliberate process. The air itself seemed to hum with his presence. Colors began to bleed into the vast emptiness. Soft hues of rose and violet appeared. They stretched across the cosmic canvas. Ra's eyes fluttered open. They were like twin suns themselves. Warmth emanated from his very being. It chased away the lingering shadows. He was not truly asleep. He merely rested. He recharged for his daily cosmic journey. His consciousness expanded. It filled the ethereal space around him. He felt the gentle pull of the eastern horizon. This was his ancient starting point. It was where his magnificent vessel awaited him. This vessel was the Mandal. It was Ra's solar bark. It was crafted from celestial gold. It gleamed with an inner luminescence. The Mandal rested on still, dark waters. These waters reflected the nascent light. They mirrored the emerging dawn. The bark was immense. It was truly awe-inspiring. Its hull was smooth and polished. It shone like liquid sunshine. Intricate carvings adorned its sides. They depicted ancient symbols of life. They showed renewal and protection. Its mast rose majestically. It pierced the ethereal sky. It was fashioned from pure light. Golden sails were neatly furled. They awaited their unfurling. They would soon catch the cosmic winds. A gentle breeze stirred. It carried the scent of possibility. It hinted at the new day. Ra slowly rose. His form was grand and powerful, yet it was also infinitely gentle. He radiated a quiet strength. He moved towards the Mandal. Each step was deliberate. Each movement was graceful. His presence alone brought forth more light. It deepened the golden glow. The waters around the bark began to shimmer. They danced with reflected light. They seemed to hum with anticipation. The Mandal was not just a boat. It was a living entity. It was attuned to Ra's divine will. It awaited his command. He stepped onto its deck. The planks felt warm beneath his feet. They resonated with his energy. A sense of profound peace settled over him. This was his sacred duty. This was his eternal journey. The air around him thickened. It shimmered with nascent magic. A soft whisper echoed. It was the collective breath of the cosmos. It waited for his daily ascent. It longed for his illuminating presence. The golden sails began to unfurl. They did so slowly. They stretched upwards. They caught the first ethereal currents. They billowed gently. They resembled vast, luminous wings. They were ready for flight. The light intensified. It poured from the unfurling sails. It spilled across the dark waters. It painted the horizon. It created a breathtaking spectacle. It was dawn's first true blush. The mantle began to glide. It moved silently. It moved effortlessly. It pushed through the still waters. It left a shimmering wake. This wake pulsed with golden energy. It illuminated the depths below. Ra stood at the helm. His gaze was steady. It was all-encompassing. He surveyed the unfolding scene. He felt the gentle hum of his vessel. He was ready for the day's work. He was not alone. Other divine beings stirred. They began to gather on the Mandel's deck. They were his faithful companions. They were his essential crew. They ensured the cosmic order. First among them was Thoth. He was the god of wisdom. He was the scribe of the gods. His head was that of an ibis. His eyes held ancient knowledge. He carried a stylus and a palette. Thoth moved with quiet grace. He took his place near Ra. He prepared his instruments. He would record the day's events. He would ensure cosmic balance. His mind was a vast library. Next came Mad. She was the goddess of truth. She was the embodiment of cosmic order. Her form was elegant. She carried an ostrich feather. This was her sacred emblem. Mad's presence was calming. She radiated balance and justice. Her eyes held deep serenity. She took her position. She stood opposite Thoth. She ensured fairness prevailed. Then there was Jah. He was the god of perception. He held the scroll of knowledge. He understood all thoughts. He comprehended all intentions. His gaze was piercing. Jah stood near the bow. He focused his attention. He perceived the path ahead. He saw the subtle currents. He discerned the unseen forces. His insight was invaluable. Beside him was who? He was the god of command. He embodied the divine utterance. His words held power. His voice shaped reality. He was the creative force, whose presence was strong. It was unwavering. He stood tall. He was ready to speak Ra's will. He would manifest his decrees. His voice would resonate. Finally, Heka appeared. He was the god of magic. He was the divine energy itself. He was the very essence of power. He was the source of all spells. Heka's form was fluid. It shifted with energy. He moved with silent intensity. He stood near the stern. He was ready to unleash his might. He would protect the bark. These were Ra's trusted companions. They were his chosen crew. Each played a vital role. Each contributed to the journey. They ensured the sun's safe passage. The mandal continued its smooth glide. It moved through the ethereal waters. The light grew stronger now. It was no longer just a glow. It was a radiant promise. The eastern horizon began to brighten. It shifted from soft pastels. It moved towards vibrant oranges. It became fiery reds. It signaled the dawn's arrival. Ra felt the familiar surge of power. It flowed through his being. It connected him to the cosmos. He was the source of life. He was the harbinger of day. His journey was not merely physical. It was also symbolic. It represented rebirth. It symbolized renewal. It was the triumph of light over dark. As the mandal ascended, the world awoke. The land stretched below. It was vast and silent. It waited for his touch. It longed for his warmth. The journey from dawn to noon was crucial. It was the period of illumination. It was when Ra brought life. He nurtured growth. He sustained existence. He would climb higher. He would reach his zenith. He would shine brightest. He would bless the earth. He would share his abundant warmth. The crew stood ready. Thoth quietly began his observations. Maat ensured harmony. She perceived the hidden. Who spoke with authority? Heka stood prepared. The air around the bark vibrated. It buzzed with divine energy. The golden sails billowed fully now. They propelled the mandal forward. They moved it swiftly upwards. The dark waters below stretched. They seemed endless. They were deep and mysterious. They held ancient secrets. They contained hidden threats. A subtle chill lingered there. It was a faint whisper of darkness. It was a reminder of what lay beneath. It was the presence of chaos. It was Apophis. Apophis was the great serpent. He was the embodiment of darkness. He was the force of uncreation. He dwelled in the deepest abyss. He sought to swallow the sun. His presence was not yet felt directly. It was a shadow. It was a distant rumble. It was a faint, unsettling tremor. It was a promise of conflict. Ra knew this threat. He was aware of the danger. It was an eternal struggle. It was his cosmic duty. It was his destiny to face it. But for now, there was peace. There was the beauty of dawn. There was the promise of a new day. There was the steady ascent. There was the light. The mandal sailed onward. It cut through the ethereal air. It left a trail of pure light. It was a beacon. It was a testament to order. The sky above began to lighten. It changed from indigo to azure. It prepared for the sun's full glory. The stars began to fade. They retreated from his brilliance. The world below stirred. Animals awoke. Plants turned towards the light. Humans began their daily tasks. All life responded to Ra. His light was life-giving. It was all-sustaining. It was the very essence of being. Without him, there would be only darkness. There would be only chaos. The bark moved higher. It entered the upper realms. The air became clearer. It became more luminous. The journey had truly begun. The golden sails pulsed. They seemed to breathe with life. They caught the cosmic currents. They propelled the vessel. They carried its divine cargo. The rhythmic creak of the wood was gentle. It was comforting. It was a lullaby. It was the sound of purpose. It was the sound of creation. The sun god stood tall. He was majestic. He was serene. He was ready for the challenges. He was prepared for the trials. He was Ra. His light spread outwards. It touched everything. It warmed the universe. It brought forth life. It banished shadows. It illuminated the path. The crew stood vigilant. Thoth continued his quiet work. Mad ensured harmony. Sh's gaze was sharp. Whose voice was ready. Heka's power pulsed. They were a unified force. They served one purpose. They protected the sun. They ensured its journey. They fought against chaos. The journey to noon was a steady climb. It was a gradual unfolding. It was the world receiving its blessings. It was the earth coming alive. The light intensified with each passing moment. It grew in strength. It grew in brilliance. It became more golden. It became more pervasive. The shadows beneath the bark shortened. They retreated. They coiled into themselves. They clung to the deepest waters. They waited. The gentle hum of the mandal filled the air. It was a soothing sound. It was the sound of divine machinery. It was the sound of destiny. Ra's presence was a balm. It was a comfort. It was a promise. The day had begun. The light had arrived. The world was safe for now. The journey had just begun. The path was clear. The purpose was defined. The sun was rising. The light was spreading. All was right. The vastness of the cosmos stretched. It was beautiful. It was awe-inspiring. It was filled with Ra's light. It was warmed by his presence. The mandal continued its silent ascent. It moved with unwavering purpose. It carried its divine cargo. It brought forth the day. It ensured life. The world below shimmered. It glistened with dew. It awakened with birdsong. It responded to Ra's touch. It embraced his warmth. The golden sails unfurled fully now. They stretched to their utmost. They caught the cosmic winds. They propelled the bark. They ascended. The light poured forth. It was a golden river. It flowed across the sky. It washed over the lands. It brought forth life. It brought forth joy. Ra watched it all. His gaze was loving. It was protective. He was the sun god. He was the giver of life. He was the light. The journey was long. It was arduous. It was eternal. But it was also beautiful. It was necessary. It was his sacred duty. The morning star faded. It disappeared into the growing light. The moon retreated. It gave way to the sun. The day had truly arrived. The gentle creak of the mandal was a rhythmic lullaby. It was a steady beat. It was the pulse of the universe. It was the sound of creation. The celestial waters shimmered. They reflected the golden light. They danced with soft ripples. They carried the bark forward. They guided its path. The air was warm. It was gentle. It was filled with promise. It carried the scent of dawn. It hinted at new beginnings. Ra stood firm. He was the anchor of the cosmos. He was the bringer of light. He was the protector of order. He was the great Ra. His companions were vigilant. They were ready. They were devoted. They were essential. They were the guardians of the sun. The mandal continued its upward journey. It moved towards the zenith. It moved towards the high noon. It brought forth the full day. The light grew stronger. It grew brighter. It encompassed everything. It banished the last vestiges of darkness. It reigned supreme. The world was bathed in gold. It was illuminated. It was alive. It was thankful. It was awaiting its blessings. The journey of Ra had begun. It was a testament to light. It was a promise of warmth. It was the dawn of a new day, and all was well. The sun bark climbed higher still. Its golden hull glowed, it shimmered. Across the vast, blue canvas, it journeyed. Mortals on earth looked up. They saw its splendid passage. A silent awe filled their hearts. From the deck, Ra watched them. His gaze was kind. He saw their fields, their homes. He saw their daily toil. He saw their quiet joy. His light blessed them all. Then a subtle shift occurred. A whisper of change touched the air. The gentle breeze stiffened. It became a sudden gust. It tugged at the bark sails. They flapped with an unexpected snap. A ripple spread across the celestial waters. They had been so calm. Now small waves danced. They lapped against the hull. The water's surface shimmered strangely. It seemed to darken, just for a moment. The sun's brilliance flickered. It was barely perceptible. A tiny dimming, then full light returned. Yet it was enough. It was a sign. The crew felt it. A tremor of unease passed among them. Thoth, the ibis-headed god, sensed it too. His keen eyes narrowed. He looked to the turbulent water. He looked to the ruffled sails. He looked to the sun's brief wink. He knew these signs. He consulted ancient scrolls. His long beak traced hieroglyphs. These were not common disturbances. They spoke of deeper stirrings. They spoke of ancient threats. His wisdom was vast. My Lord Ra, Thoth's voice was low. It held a grave tone. The signs are clear. They are unmistakable. Apophis stirs. He awakens from the nun. His words hung in the air. The nun, the primordial waters. It was the abyss. It was the void before creation. From its depths, chaos could emerge. Apophis, the great serpent, embodied this chaos. He was the enemy of order. Mad, goddess of truth and balance, stepped forward. Her ostrich feather, symbol of harmony, trembled slightly. Her expression was troubled. Her concern was palpable. "This is grave news, Thoth," she murmured. Her voice was soft. "The cosmic order, it is fragile. Apophis's awakening, it threatens all. It threatens the delicate balance we uphold. She loved order. Ra's gaze was steady. He stood tall. His form radiated power. Yet, a quiet understanding filled his eyes. He knew this threat. He had faced it before. It was an eternal struggle. Indeed, Matt, Ra's voice was calm. It resonated with strength. The serpent's shadow lengthens. His hunger for chaos is endless. But the sun always rises. Light always prevails. His resolve was unwavering. He looked at his crew. Horus, with his falcon eyes, stood ready. Seth, fierce and strong, gripped his staff. Hathor, serene and watchful, offered silent support. They were his loyal companions. "We are prepared," Ra affirmed. His voice was a balm. "This journey is eternal. This battle is eternal. But so is our purpose. We bring light. We bring order." He spoke with deep conviction. The disturbances continued. The wind howled softly now. It whispered through the rigging. The celestial waters churned. They formed gentle eddies. The sun's light dimmed, then brightened. It pulsed. These were not direct attacks. Not yet. They were probes. They were a testing of boundaries. Apophis, from his watery lair, stretched. He felt the bark's presence. He sought to disrupt its journey. Ra's crew felt the growing tension. They sensed the unseen presence. A shiver ran through some. Others gripped their weapons tighter. The air grew heavy. It hummed with anticipation. Thoth continued his observations. He noted every subtle change. He recorded them in his mind. He was the keeper of knowledge. He understood the serpent's tactics. He knew its ancient patterns. Mad watched the sky. She felt the vibrations. The cosmic scales shifted. They teetered precariously. Her heart ached for harmony. She yearned for steady balance. Ra, though outwardly calm, prepared inwardly. His power was immense. But even Ra acknowledged the gravity. This was not a simple skirmish. This was the ongoing struggle. This was the cosmic dance. He looked towards the eastern horizon. The journey was long. The path was set. The sun bark pressed onward. It carried its precious cargo. It carried the promise of dawn. The subtle disturbances intensified. The wind grew colder. It had a biting edge. The celestial waters roiled more deeply. Whitecaps appeared on their surface. The sun's flickering became more pronounced. It seemed to breathe. A low hum began to vibrate. It came from beneath the bark. It was a deep, resonant sound. It was the sound of something vast. It was the sound of something ancient. It was the sound of awakening. Thoth placed a hand on the deck. He felt the vibration. His brow furrowed in concentration. "He approaches closer," he stated. His voice was hushed. "The hum is his breath. He rises." Matt closed her eyes for a moment. She braced herself. The balance was threatened. The delicate threads of order stretched taut. She prayed for strength. She prayed for Ra's victory. Ra stood at the helm. His hands were firm. His gaze was fixed ahead. He was the embodiment of will. He was the sun itself. He would not falter. He would not yield. He looked at his brave crew. Their faces were etched with concern, but also with determination. They were ready. They would stand with him. They would face the darkness. "Hold fast, my friends," Ra's voice rang out. It was clear and strong. It cut through the growing hum. The serpent seeks to sow fear. He seeks to break our resolve. But we are the guardians of light. His words instilled courage. A renewed sense of purpose filled the crew. They straightened their shoulders. They gripped their weapons tighter. They met Ra's gaze. They were ready. The hum grew louder. It vibrated through the deck. It resonated in their bones. The waters churned violently now. Great swells rose and fell. The bark rocked from side to side. The sun's light fractured. It broke into shimmering shards. They danced across the troubled waters. A faint shadow began to stretch. It crept from the depths. It was vast. It was formless. Thoth pointed a slender finger. "There," he exclaimed. His voice was urgent. "The first shadow. He extends his reach. He tests the boundaries of our world." His knowledge was invaluable. Matt watched the shadow spread. It was a blot on the celestial canvas. It was a stain on the purity of light. Her heart ached. The beautiful order was assailed. Ra simply watched. His eyes were steady. He knew this moment. He knew this dance. The serpent's probing was an ancient ritual. It was the prelude to battle. He prepared his divine energy. It flowed through him. It pulsed with warmth. It gathered within his core. He was a beacon of light. He was a fortress of resolve. The bark plunged into a trough. Then it rose on a swell. The shadow grew closer. It seemed to coalesce. It took on a vague, serpentine form. It was immense. It was terrifying. The air grew heavy with menace. A coldness seeped into the warmth. It was the chill of chaos. It was the breath of the abyss. It was Apophis. Horus drew his sword. Its blade gleamed. Seth snarled, ready for the fray. Hathor's gentle glow intensified. She offered protection. She offered solace. Ra raised his hand. His palm faced the encroaching shadow. A faint light emanated from it. It was a warning. It was a challenge. It was the sun's defiance. The hum intensified to a roar. It was a primal sound. It was the voice of the void. The shadow lunged forward. It was a wave of darkness. It sought to engulf the bark. But Ra's light held firm. It pushed back against the shadow. It created an invisible barrier. The forces clashed. Chaos met order. Darkness met light. The bark shuddered violently. Its timbers groaned. The crew braced themselves. They felt the immense pressure. They felt the cosmic conflict. Thoth continued to observe. His mind raced. He analyzed the serpent's movements. He noted its subtle shifts. He sought weaknesses. He sought patterns. Matt extended her hands. A gentle white light flowed from them. It strengthened Ra's barrier. It reinforced the cosmic order. She was the embodiment of truth. Ra's face remained serene, though the power surging through him was immense. He was a force of nature. He was the eternal sun. He would not be extinguished. The shadow recoiled slightly. It writhed in frustration. It had not anticipated such resistance. It had expected an easy entry. It underestimated Ra's might. The roar subsided to a growl. The waters calmed somewhat. The sun's light steadied. The air remained heavy, but the immediate threat had passed. For now, Ra lowered his hand. His light receded. He took a deep breath. His crew looked to him. Their faces showed relief, but also a quiet understanding. "He tastes our strength," Ra stated. His voice was calm again. "He tests our resolve. This is but the first touch. The full confrontation awaits." His words were a prophecy. Thoth nodded gravely. "He will return, my lord. He is relentless. He is the eternal adversary. His hunger is insatiable. His wisdom was absolute." Matt sighed. The balance was restored for now, but the memory of the shadow lingered. The threat was real. The struggle was ongoing. Ra looked out at the vast celestial sea. The sun bark continued its journey. The path ahead was clear, but the shadow of Apophis remained. It lurked beneath the waves. It waited. The crew resumed their positions. Their vigilance was heightened. They knew what lay ahead. They knew the challenges. They were ready. They were united. The sun bark sailed onward. Its golden hull gleamed. It cut through the cosmic waters. It brought light to the world, and it carried the promise of dawn. The quiet hum of the bark returned. It was a steady, comforting sound. The celestial waters rippled gently once more. The sun's light shone bright and clear. The unsettling chill began to dissipate. A warmth returned to the air. It was a gentle warmth. It was the warmth of security. The crew moved with quiet purpose. Each god and goddess took their place. They were a well-oiled machine. They were a family. They were united in their sacred task. Horus sharpened his sword, his falcon eyes scanning the horizon. Seth, ever vigilant, stood guard at the stern. Hathor, with her calming presence, offered silent blessings. Thoth, immersed in his scrolls, continued his tireless observations. Matt, ever watchful, ensured the delicate balance remained. Ra surveyed his loyal companions. His heart swelled with gratitude. He knew their strength. He knew their unwavering devotion. Together, they faced the eternal night. Together, they brought forth the dawn. The bark's journey was long. It was a journey of endless cycles, day into night, night into day, creation and recreation, order and chaos. This was the cosmic rhythm. This was the universal dance. The first encounter with Apophis's shadow had been a warning. It was a prelude. It was a reminder of the ever-present threat. But it was also a testament to Ra's unwavering strength and to the steadfastness of his crew. The sun bark sailed on, a beacon of light in the vastness. Its golden hull reflected the cosmic dust. Its sails billowed gently. It was a symbol of hope. It was a promise of renewal. The mortals on earth slept soundly. They dreamt of sun-drenched fields. They dreamt of peaceful rivers. They dreamt of the warmth of Ra's light. They were unaware of the silent battle raging above. But Ra knew. He felt the constant pull of chaos. He felt the serpent's restless stirrings. He knew the struggle was eternal. But so was his commitment. So was his light. The celestial waters stretched out before them. They shimmered with starlight. The air was filled with a gentle hum. It was the song of the cosmos. It was the melody of creation. Ra stood at the helm, a majestic figure. His divine energy pulsed. He was the heart of the universe. He was the bringer of light. He was the defender of order. The bark continued its majestic journey. It moved with grace. It moved with purpose. It moved towards the western horizon, towards the place where day would meet night, towards the next phase of its eternal voyage. The quiet of the cosmos enveloped them. The stars twinkled like distant jewels. The sun bark, a vessel of destiny, sailed on. It carried the sun. It carried the world. It carried the promise of a new day. The sun bark glided onward. Its journey continued. Gentle currents carried it. Then a tremor ran through the water. It was subtle at first. It grew stronger, a deep vibration. The air grew heavy, thick, with an unseen presence. The stars above seemed to dim slightly. A chill seeped into the very wood of the bark. It was a cold that spoke of ancient, primordial depths. Isis, ever watchful, stiffened. Her eyes, usually serene, narrowed. She gazed into the swirling darkness ahead. "Something approaches," she murmured softly. Her voice was a whisper of concern. Something vast and hungry. The other gods stirred. Their easy chatter ceased completely. An unspoken tension settled over the deck. Every divine being felt it. Thoth, quill poised over his scroll, paused. His gaze lifted from his sacred texts. He scanned the murky waters. His wisdom sensed the impending danger. He felt the ripple of chaos. It disturbed the cosmic order. Heka, the god of magic, raised a hand. A soft, shimmering aura emanated from his palm. It was a protective ward. He began to chant, low and resonant. His voice was a murmur of power. Then the water ahead churned violently. It boiled with immense, unseen force. A colossal shadow began to rise. It was a shape of nightmare. It emerged from the inky depths. It was the great serpent, Apophis. Its scales shimmered with an unholy light. They reflected the dim glow of the distant stars. Each scale was the size of a shield. They were plates of polished obsidian. The serpent's body was immeasurable. It seemed to stretch endlessly. It coiled through the water. It was a mountain of muscle and malevolence. Its head, massive and flat, broke the surface. Two eyes, like burning coals, fixed upon the sunbark. They glowed with an ancient, fathomless hatred. A low hiss escaped its gargantuan maw. It was a sound that vibrated through bone. It promised absolute destruction. The sun bark rocked violently. It was caught in the serpent's wake. The air grew cold, heavy, with a foul stench. It was the smell of primordial chaos. It was the breath of the void itself. Apophis rose higher. Its head towered over the bark. Its shadow engulfed the vessel. The light of Ra, usually so bright, seemed to flicker. It wavered under the serpent's dark presence. Apophis Set roared. His voice was a thunderclap. It echoed across the water. His eyes blazed with fierce determination. He stood at the prow. His spear, tipped with divine fire, was ready. He was the god of storms. He was the protector of Ra. He felt the surge of battle lust. He welcomed the challenge. Apophis opened its maw. It was a cavernous abyss. Rows upon rows of jagged teeth gleamed. They were like obsidian daggers. They were sharpened to pierce the very fabric of reality. The serpent lunged forward. Its immense body undulated. It moved with terrifying speed. It aimed to swallow the sun bark whole. It sought to consume the light of creation. The bark shuddered. It was caught in the serpent's attack. The impact was deafening. It was a collision of cosmic forces. The gods braced themselves. They dug their feet into the deck. Ra, seated upon his throne, remained still. His gaze was unwavering. A golden light began to emanate from him. It pulsed with divine power. Set was the first to act. With a guttural cry, he leaped forward. He met the serpent's charge. His spear became a blur of fiery light. He plunged it into Apophis's scaly hide. Sparks flew. A shriek of pure rage erupted from the serpent. The blow, though powerful, merely scratched the surface. It was a testament to Apophis's immense resilience. Foolish god, Apophis hissed. Its voice was a grating rumble. It echoed across the water. You cannot stop me. I am the devourer. I am the end of all things. Its tail, a colossal whip, lashed out. It struck the water with immense force. A wave, taller than any mountain, rose. It threatened to engulf the sun bark. Thoth stepped forward. He raised his staff. It glowed with a cool blue light. He chanted ancient words. They were words of power and binding. Magical glyphs shimmered in the air. They formed a protective barrier. It was a shimmering shield of pure magic. The wave crashed against it. The barrier held firm. It rippled, but did not break. Heka extended his hands. Streams of emerald light flowed from his palms. They wove intricate patterns. They formed a net of pure energy. It enveloped the sun bark. It reinforced Thoth's ward. By the power of creation, Heka intoned. His voice was steady. You shall not pass. His magic pulsed. It pushed back against the serpent's chaotic energy. Isis, with a calm determination, began to weave spells. Her hands moved gracefully. They traced sigils in the air. Her magic was subtle. It was profound. It sought to disrupt Apophis's very essence. She whispered ancient incantations. They were words of binding and control. They sought to unravel the serpent's malevolent will. From the heart of the bark, Ra stirred. His presence filled the vessel. It radiated warmth and light. His eyes, usually gentle, now blazed. They were twin suns of pure power. A searing heat emanated from them. It was the power of the Eye of Ra. It was the divine wrath of the Creator. Apophis, Ra's voice boomed. It was not a shout. It was a vibration. It resonated through the cosmos. It was the sound of absolute authority. You dare to challenge the light. You dare to defy order. A beam of pure, incandescent fire shot from his eye. It was a golden torrent. It struck Apophis directly. It hit the serpent's massive head. The serpent recoiled. It shrieked in agony. The fire seared its scales. It burned with divine intensity. Smoke billowed from its head. It was a dark, acrid cloud. Apophis thrashed violently. Its colossal body convulsed. It sent massive waves crashing. They threatened to capsize the bark, but the gods held firm. They maintained their defenses. The heat was immense. It was the sun itself. It was focused into a single, devastating point. Apophis roared. It was a sound of pain. It was a sound of frustrated fury. It lashed out blindly. Its tail struck the water again. It created a vortex. It was a whirlpool of chaos. It sought to drag the bark down. Nut, the sky goddess, watched from above. Her form, usually vast, condensed slightly. She focused her power. She drew in the turbulent air. She calmed the storm. She sought to stabilize the atmosphere. She was the one who held the heavens. She would not let chaos consume the journey. Shu, the god of air, inhaled deeply. He expanded his lungs. He exhaled a mighty gust. It was a wind of cosmic proportions. It pushed against the swirling vortex. It disrupted its destructive force. He was the one who separated heaven and earth. He maintained the balance. Tefnut, the goddess of moisture, pulled at the water. She shaped the waves. She lessened their impact. She worked in harmony with Shu. She sought to calm the chaotic waters. She brought order to the elemental forces. Her touch was gentle, yet firm. Apophis, reeling from Ra's assault, tried again. It lunged. Its jaws gaped wide. This time it aimed for the center. It sought to crush the sun bark. It was a desperate, enraged attack. It was driven by primal hunger. It was fueled by ancient malice. Set met it head-on. He was a whirlwind of fury. He plunged his spear repeatedly. He struck at the serpent's tongue. He struck at the roof of its mouth. He fought with reckless abandon. He cared not for his own safety. He was Ra's champion. Thoth continued his incantations. The magical barrier pulsed. It flared with renewed strength. It repelled the serpent's advances. Heka's emerald light intertwined. It formed an impenetrable shield. Isis's subtle magic wove itself. It created disorienting illusions. It made the serpent hesitate. Ra unleashed another beam. It was hotter. It was more intense. It pierced Apophyse's eye. A shriek, even louder than before, tore through the night. The serpent recoiled violently. It thrashed in agony. Its immense body writhed. It was a mountain in torment. Blood, dark and viscous, poured from its wound. It stained the pristine waters. It left a trail of corruption. The air thickened with its stench. It was a smell of decay and ancient evil. Apophis roared in frustration. It was defeated for now. With a final, desperate surge, Apophis retreated. It plunged back into the depths. Its colossal form vanished. It disappeared into the inky blackness. The water slowly calmed. The tremors subsided. The air began to clear. The immediate danger had passed. The gods breathed a collective sigh. It was one of relief. It was one of exhaustion. The deck of the bark was scarred. It bore the marks of battle. The wood was scorched. It was drenched with spray. But the bark itself remained. It was intact. Ra's light dimmed slightly. His gaze was still firm. His presence, though less intense, remained. He had driven back the chaos. He had protected his creation. He had reaffirmed his dominion. But he knew this was not the end. It retreats, Thoth observed. His voice was calm. His quill resumed its movement. He recorded the events. But it is not vanquished. His wisdom spoke of cycles. It spoke of recurring battles. Apophis would return. It always did. Set leaned on his spear. He was breathing heavily. Sweat beaded on his brow. Yet, a fierce satisfaction gleamed in his eyes. He had faced the beast. He had struck a blow. He had protected Ra. This was his purpose. This was his joy. Isis looked out at the calming water. Her expression was thoughtful. Its hatred grows, she mused. Her voice was soft. Each defeat only fuels its malice. She sensed the deeper implications. She understood the enduring struggle. Heka's emerald light faded. He lowered his hands. His spells had held firm. He nodded to Ra. He acknowledged the divine power. He had done his part. He had woven protection. The sun bark resumed its gentle glide. The journey continued. The stars, once dimmed, now shone brighter. The air felt cleaner. The chill receded. Life, order, and creation had prevailed. For now. But the memory of the immense serpent lingered. Its terrifying appearance was etched. Its gaping maw was remembered. Its burning eyes remained in their minds. The gods knew the fight was far from over. This was merely the first strike. It was a prelude to battles yet to come. Ra closed his eyes for a moment. He gathered his strength. He reaffirmed his resolve. His light would always shine. His journey would always continue. He would face Apophis again. He would face the chaos. He would always protect the light. He was the sun god. He was the creator. And so, the sun bark sailed on through the quiet, watchful night. The sun dipped below the horizon, a final, fiery kiss to the world above. Ra's bark, the Mesektet, began its slow descent. It transformed. its daytime splendor softened. Gilded sails shimmered, then faded to a deep, resonant indigo. The deck planks, once bright, now gleamed with a subdued, ethereal light. This was the boat of night, the vessel of passage. A cool, quiet darkness enveloped them. It was not the darkness of an empty room. It was the rich, deep darkness of the earth itself. The air grew thick with ancient dust, dust of ages past. A faint, earthy scent filled their lungs. This was the Jewett, the underworld. They entered through the western horizon. This was the gateway to the hidden realm. The Mesictet glided effortlessly. It moved as if on unseen currents. The transition was seamless. It was profound. The world above vanished entirely. 12 hours of night awaited them. Each hour held a gate. Each gate held its own challenges. The bark carried Ra through these perilous passages. Apophis, though repelled, still lurked. Its malevolent presence lingered. It was a cold echo in the darkness. The first gate loomed ahead. It was vast and imposing. 2 towering pylons, carved from obsidian, guarded its entrance. Their surfaces were etched with hieroglyphs, ancient warnings. A low hum vibrated through the air. It was a sound that spoke of immense power. Horus stood vigilant at the prow. His falcon eyes pierced the gloom. Thoth consulted his scrolls. His brow was furrowed in concentration. Mat stood serene, her feather glowing softly. Her presence brought a sense of calm. The gate began to open. It moved with a slow, grinding sound. Stone scraped against stone. A deep chasm opened before them. It stretched into an infinite darkness. Ra remained steadfast. His golden aura pulsed gently. Within the chasm, faint lights flickered. They were distant, like dying embers. These were the souls of the righteous dead. They rested here, awaiting judgment. Their whispers drifted on the currents. They were soft, like rustling leaves. The Mesictet entered the first hour. This realm was known as a Mentet. It was a place of quiet contemplation. It was a place of peaceful rest. Yet, danger always shadowed Ra's journey. Apophis's influence was subtle. It was insidious. The air grew heavy. A strange lethargy settled over the crew. Their eyelids felt weighted. Their movements became sluggish. This was Apophis's doing. It sought to lull them into slumber. It sought to halt their progress. Ra observed them keenly. His wisdom was profound. He knew this trick intimately. He had faced it countless times. He raised his staff of was. Its tip glowed with intense light. The light pulsed, driving back the drowsiness. "Stay vigilant, my loyal crew," Ra's voice resonated. It was strong and clear. "Do not succumb to this illusion. Apophis seeks to bind us." His words pierced the haze. They rekindled the crew's resolve. Horus gripped his spear tighter. Thoth sharpened his focus. Mat's feather glowed brighter. The crew shook off the lethargy. They stood firm against the subtle assault. Their dedication was unwavering. guardians of the first gate appeared. They were benevolent beings. They protected the slumbering souls. They watched Ra's passage with quiet reverence. Their forms were shadowy. They were ethereal. One guardian stepped forward. Its eyes were ancient and knowing. It held a staff woven with reeds. It offered a silent blessing. Its presence was comforting. It was reassuring. Pass through, great Ra, a voice whispered. It seemed to come from everywhere. Your journey is sacred. May your light disperse the shadows. The words were a gentle benediction. The Mesiktet continued its passage. The air grew cooler now. The whispers of the dead faded behind them. The first hour was almost complete, but Apophyse's influence was persistent. It grew stronger. A shimmering distortion appeared ahead. It wavered like heat haze. It was an illusion, a trick of the light. It showed a false path. It sought to divert the bark. It sought to lead them astray. Look closely, mighty Ra, Thoth advised. His voice was calm. This path is not true. It leads to the labyrinth of lost souls. He pointed with a steady hand. His knowledge was invaluable. Ra perceived the deception instantly. His divine sight was unclouded. He steered the Mesiktet firmly. He kept it on its destined course. The illusion dissolved harmlessly. It vanished like mist. The crew remained alert. Their senses were heightened. They knew Apophyse's cunning. They understood its insidious nature. It did not attack directly. It sought to corrupt their journey. The second gate approached quickly. It was less imposing than the first. Its entrance was guarded by sphinxes. Their eyes glowed with amber light. They posed no threat to Ra. They were guardians of knowledge. This realm was known as Ernest. It was a place of flowing waters. The river of the Jewett widened here. Its currents were slow and deep. The air was filled with a gentle murmur. It was the sound of eternal flow. But the water began to churn. It grew turbulent without warning. Dark eddies formed around the bark. They pulled at its hull. They threatened to drag it down. This was Apophyse's attempt. Hold steady, sailors, Horus commanded. His voice was firm. Maintain your course. Do not yield to the currents. The crew strained against the oars. They fought the unseen force. Ra extended his hand. A golden light streamed from his palm. It pierced the turbulent waters. It calmed the churning eddies. The river returned to its placid state. The bark glided smoothly once more. Apophyse's frustration was palpable. It vibrated through the underworld. Its attempts were thwarted. Its power was insufficient. Yet it persisted. Its hatred burned eternal. The riverbanks were lined with reeds. They swayed gently in an unseen breeze. Among them, shadowy figures moved. They were the Ba souls of the deceased. They flitted like moths in the dim light. They were harmless, they were lost. They sought guidance and peace. Ra's passage offered them solace. His light brought them comfort. They watched him with quiet longing. The Mesiktet approached the end of the second hour. The air grew warmer here. A faint, earthy smell lingered. It was the scent of rich soil. This hinted at the next realm. A deep, whispering sound began. It was low and guttural. It seemed to emanate from the very earth. It was Apophyse's snarl. It was a sound of immense rage. It was a sound of deep frustration. The ground around the bark began to tremble. Small fissures appeared in the riverbanks. Dark tendrils of shadow snaked upwards. They reached for the Mesiktet asterisk. They were extensions of Apophis. A direct assault, Thoth observed. His voice remained calm. It grows desperate, great Ra. He prepared his magical instruments. He stood ready to assist. Ra raised his staff of was once more. Its light intensified dramatically. The golden energy surged outwards. It met the encroaching shadows. It repelled them instantly. The tendrils recoiled, hissing. They withered and dissolved. The trembling subsided. The whispers faded. Apophis' direct attack had failed. It was driven back once more. The third gate loomed ahead. It was a structure of bone and sinew. It pulsed with a faint, reddish light. This was a more dangerous realm. This was a place of judgment. This hour was called Netau. It was a realm of fiery pits. It was a place of scorching winds. The air grew hot and acrid. The smell of sulfur filled their nostrils. Guardians of this gate were fearsome. They were beings of fire. Their eyes burned like embers. Their bodies were wreathed in flames. They tested the souls of the wicked. They observed Ra's bark. Their fiery gazes were intense. They offered no challenge to him. Ra was pure, he was divine. His purpose was righteous. But Apophis found new tactics. It was cunning and relentless. It sought to sow discord. It sought to exploit fears. It sent illusions of past failures. It sent visions of doubt. Horus saw his past mistakes. He saw the pain of his youth. Thoth saw forgotten knowledge. He saw scrolls lost to time. Mad felt the weight of injustice. She saw imbalances in the world. These were potent illusions. They probed the deepest fears. They sought to paralyze the crew. They sought to break their resolve. The air grew heavy with emotional turmoil. Ra sensed their distress. His empathy was boundless. He knew these dark tricks. He knew their insidious nature. He projected a wave of calm. He projected a wave of reassurance. These are but shadows, my friends, Ra's voice resonated. It was a balm to their souls. They hold no true power. Focus on our sacred mission. His words were a shield. The illusions wavered. They flickered and faded. The crew rallied their spirits. They remembered their purpose. Their faith in Ra was absolute. Their dedication was unwavering. The Mesiktet moved through the fiery landscape. The heat was intense. The flames licked at the air, but they did not touch the bark. Ra's protection was absolute. The sounds of torment echoed. They were the cries of the condemned. They were the wails of the lost. The underworld was a place of stark contrasts. It held both peace and suffering. Apophase's anger intensified. Its roars vibrated through the earth. Its attempts were failing. Its power was being repelled. But it would not cease. It would never surrender. The third hour neared its end. The fiery pits receded. The air cooled slightly. The smell of sulfur diminished. The Mesiktet prepared for the next gate. The journey continued onward. The bark passed through the third gate. It moved into the fourth hour. This realm was called Kuraha. It was a place of hidden caverns. It was a realm of shifting shadows. The passage was narrow here. The walls closed in on them. The darkness was profound. It was an oppressive weight. The air grew damp and heavy. Apophis struck from the shadows. It sent forth shadowy creatures. They were amorphous and vast. They sought to engulf the bark. They sought to consume its light. These were the children of chaos. They were born of pure malevolence. They writhed and pulsed in the darkness. They were a terrifying sight. "Stand ready," Horus commanded. His spear glowed. "These are mere projections. They cannot harm us." He struck at the encroaching shadows. His blows were true and strong. Thoth chanted ancient spells. His voice echoed through the cavern. His magic formed a barrier. It shimmered with protective energy. The creatures recoiled from it. Maat's feather pulsed brightly. Its light pierced the gloom. It revealed the true nature of the shadows. They were insubstantial. They were illusions given form. Ra's presence was a beacon. His light dispelled the darkness. The shadowy creatures screamed. They dissolved into nothingness. They vanished like smoke. The cavern walls receded. The passage widened once more. The air grew lighter. The oppressive darkness lifted. They had passed through another trial. Apophase's rage was a tempest. It boiled beneath the earth. It had used its most subtle tricks. It had used its most direct assaults. Yet, Ra's journey continued. The Mesiktet sailed on. The crew remained resolute. They faced each challenge with courage. Their faith in Ra was unwavering. The journey through the Juat was long. Many more hours awaited them. Many more gates remained. Apophis would not relent. Its evil was boundless, but Ra was eternal. His light would always prevail. The sound of flowing water returned. It was a gentle murmur. It hinted at a peaceful realm. It promised a brief respite, but danger always lurked near. The bark moved steadily forward. It carried the sun god. It carried the hope of the world. Darkness would not consume them. Light would always triumph. The journey was arduous. The challenges were immense. But Ra was strong. His crew was loyal. They would face the night. They would emerge victorious. The whispers of the lost souls faded. The heat of the fiery pits dimmed. The shadows of chaos dissolved. The Mesiktet continued its sacred voyage. Each hour passed slowly. Each gate brought new trials, but Ra's wisdom guided them. His power protected them. They moved deeper into the Duat. They moved closer to dawn. The gentle rocking of the manjit bark continued. Its golden hull sliced through the dark, still waters of the Duat. A hushed quiet had settled over the crew. They were preparing for the deepest part of the night's journey. Every soul aboard felt the weight of the coming hours. Suddenly, a shimmer appeared on the horizon. It was not the usual glow of starlight. Instead, a strange, swirling mist began to gather. It rose from the water's surface. This mist was unlike any they had encountered before. Its tendrils snaked towards the bark. Thoth, ever vigilant, squinted into the gloom. His keen eyes, usually so sharp, seemed to struggle. The mist thickened quickly. It swirled around the vessel. A chill, unnatural and pervasive, seeped into the air. "What is this?" Isis murmured. Her voice was barely a whisper. She clutched her staff tighter. A flicker of unease crossed her serene features. Ra, seated steadfastly at the helm, remained calm. His luminous gaze pierced the encroaching fog. He felt Apophyse's malevolent presence. It was a subtle, insidious pressure. This was not a direct assault. It was something far more cunning. The mist began to take shape. Vague forms emerged from its depths. They writhed and shifted. Then they solidified into grotesque figures. Horrific beasts with glowing eyes appeared. They were creatures of nightmare. Their forms were distorted and terrifying. One monster rose high above the mist. It had a gaping maw. Its fangs dripped with spectral venom. Another had multiple heads. Each head snarled and snapped. A third was a towering shadow. It seemed to embody pure dread. The crew gasped. Some recoiled instinctively. Their hands flew to their weapons. But these monsters were not truly there. They were illusions. They were born of fear. They were woven from the dark magic of Apophis. Horus, usually so brave, felt a tremor of doubt. He stared at a towering, shadowy figure. It resembled a twisted version of his own father. The illusion snarled. It lunged towards him. He raised his spear, but Ra's voice, clear as a bell, cut through the illusion's roar. "Hold," he commanded. His voice resonated with authority. "These are not real. They are but shadows." Thoth stepped forward. He held up his scribe's palette. Its surface began to glow faintly. He chanted ancient words. His voice was low and melodic. The words were of truth and discernment. "Look closely, mighty ones," Thoth instructed. His eyes, though clouded by the mist, held a steady light. "See beyond the fear. Seek the underlying falsehood." As he spoke, the monstrous forms flickered. They wavered at the edges. They seemed to lose some of their solidity. The terrifying roars became fainter. They sounded like distant echoes. Then the illusions shifted again. The monstrous shapes began to dissolve. They melted into the swirling mist. In their place, new forms emerged. These were far more insidious. They were figures of love and longing. Nephthys cried out softly. An image of her beloved Osiris appeared. He stood before her. His face was filled with sorrow. He reached out a ghostly hand. He seemed to beckon her. Anubis saw his mother, Nephthys. She was young and vibrant. She smiled at him. Her eyes held boundless affection. He felt a powerful urge. He wanted to embrace her. Even Ra saw them. Figures from his distant past. Beloved faces. Lost companions. They stood silently. Their eyes held a profound sadness. They seemed to plead with him. A deep ache settled in his heart. This was Apophis' true cruelty. Not brute force, but the subtle torture of memory, the twisting of affection, the undermining of resolve. Mad, however, remained untouched. Her presence was a beacon of stillness. Her ostrich feather glowed with a pure, steady light. It pulsed gently. It was a silent testament to truth. She closed her eyes for a moment. She breathed deeply. She centered herself. Her inner balance was unshakable. She radiated an aura of perfect order. Remember your purpose, Matt's voice rang out. It was soft yet firm. It cut through the deceptive whispers. Remember the journey. Remember the light. Her words seemed to vibrate. They resonated through the bark. The illusions of loved ones faltered. Their forms became translucent. They shimmered like heat haze. Thoth continued his incantations. He drew symbols in the air. They glowed with faint, golden light. These were symbols of clarity. They were ancient truths. They dispelled deceit. The mind can be a powerful ally, Thoth explained. His voice was calm. It was instructive. But it can also be a canvas for illusion. Discernment is key. He turned to Horus. Your father is with us, Horus. His spirit is in the stars. Do not let a false image sway you. Your resolve must be unyielding. Horus blinked. He looked at the fading image. It was still heartbreakingly real. But now he saw the subtle flaws, the unnatural glow in its eyes, the way it seemed to flicker. He tightened his grip on his spear. He straightened his shoulders. His golden eye, usually so keen, now pierced the illusion. He began to see it for what it was. A trick. A lie. Isis, too, looked at the fading image of Osiris. A tear traced a path down her cheek, but her eyes remained resolute. Her love for him was eternal. It did not need a false image. She raised her staff. Its tip began to glow. A soft, warm light emanated from it. It was the light of true magic, the magic of creation, the magic of healing. Begone, shadows, Isis commanded. Her voice was strong. It echoed through the mist. You have no power here. Only truth endures. Her light expanded. It pushed back against the encroaching mist. The illusions writhed. They struggled against her power. They seemed to shriek silently. As the illusions weakened, a new threat emerged. The very waters of the Jewett began to stir. They swirled unnaturally. A low, rhythmic sucking sound filled the air. He tries to absorb the waters, Thoth cried. His voice held a note of urgency. Apophis seeks to strand us. He wants to leave us adrift. The bark lurched. It settled lower in the water. The dark, still surface began to recede. It was being drawn into an unseen maw, a vast, unseen emptiness. Panic began to rise among some of the lesser crew. They looked at the dwindling water. They imagined being stranded, adrift in the endless darkness. Ra rose from his seat. His form seemed to grow. His divine light intensified. It pushed back against the encroaching darkness. It illuminated the receding waters. No, Ra's voice boomed. It resonated with the power of creation itself. You will not consume these waters, serpent. They are the lifeblood of the Jewett. He raised his hands. A magnificent golden orb of light formed between them. It pulsed with immense power. It was the raw essence of his being, the very sun. He thrust the orb forward. It flew towards the swirling emptiness. It struck the invisible barrier. It created a brilliant flash of light. The Jewett trembled. A guttural roar echoed from beneath the waves. It was Apophis's voice, a sound of frustration, a sound of rage. His plan was being thwarted. The waters stopped receding. They quivered for a moment. Then, slowly, they began to rise again. The bark lifted gently. It rode the returning tide. But the serpent was relentless. He would not give up. He changed his tactic again. The mist, though thinner, still clung to the bark. It began to whisper. The whispers were insidious. They slithered into the minds of the crew. They spoke of doubt. They spoke of weariness. They spoke of failure. You are not strong enough, the whispers hissed. The journey is endless. You will never reach the dawn. Give up. Rest. Let the darkness consume you. They preyed on individual fears. To Sobek, they spoke of his ancient, forgotten fears. To Sekhmet, they whispered of her destructive rage. To Hathor, they spoke of loss. Even Ra felt their touch. They spoke of his immense responsibility. They spoke of the burden of the sun. They spoke of the endless cycle, the constant struggle. But Ra had faced such whispers before. He had overcome them. His inner strength was boundless. His purpose was clear. His light was unyielding. He looked at his crew. He saw their struggles. He saw the flicker of doubt in their eyes. He knew he had to act, not just with power, but with reassurance. Look to the light within you, Ra said. His voice was calm. It was full of warmth. Each of you carries a spark of the divine. Let it shine. Matt stepped forward. Her presence alone seemed to calm the air. Her feather pulsed brightly. It dispelled the whispers. It replaced them with stillness. Chaos thrives on division, Matt stated. Her voice was clear. It was resonant. But order is built on unity. We are stronger together. Thoth began to speak. He recounted tales of past triumphs. He spoke of the sun's endless journey. He spoke of its eventual victory. He spoke of the steadfastness of truth. Isis began to sing. Her voice was melodic. It was soothing. It was a lullaby for the weary soul. It wove a tapestry of hope and resilience. Horus, now fully recovered from the illusions, stood tall. He scanned the swirling mist. His golden eye pierced the remaining deception. He was ready to fight. The crew, hearing their leaders, began to rally. They remembered their purpose. They remembered their strength. They remembered their bond. The whispers began to fade. They lost their power. They were drowned out by the voices of unity. They were dispelled by the light of truth. Apophyse's frustration grew. His subtle attacks were failing. His illusions were shattered. His attempts to absorb the duet were thwarted. His whispers were silenced. He unleashed a wave of raw, dark energy. It ripped through the mist. It was a desperate, uncontrolled surge of power. It slammed into the bark. The vessel shuddered violently. It was thrown sideways. The crew stumbled. They clung to the railings. The mast groaned under the strain. Ra stood firm. His light flared brightly. He became a beacon. He absorbed the brunt of the attack. His radiance pushed back against the darkness. His form glowed with an incandescent brilliance. It was the full power of the sun. It was pure, unadulterated light. It was the essence of creation. The light expanded. It pushed back the remaining mist. It pierced the gloom. It illuminated the vast expanse of the duet. Apophis shrieked. It was a sound of immense pain, a sound of defeat. The light was anathema to him. It burned his shadowy form. The serpent recoiled. He retreated into the deepest parts of the duet. His vast, shadowy form receded. He left behind a lingering chill. The air cleared. The waters calmed. The manjet bark steadied. It resumed its gentle, rhythmic journey. The immediate peril had passed. The crew breathed a collective sigh of relief. They looked at Ra. His light, though still brilliant, had softened slightly. He was weary, but he was victorious. The darkness always retreats before the light, Ra said softly. His voice was calm once more. But it always returns. We must remain vigilant. Thoth nodded. Indeed, great Ra, Apophis is cunning. He learns from his failures. His next attack will be different. Isis looked out at the now clear waters. The stars twinkled above. The journey continued. The night was still long, but hope burned brightly. Horus stood beside Ra. His hand rested on his spear. He was ready. He was unwavering. He was learning the lessons of resilience, the strength of unity. Maat's feather continued to glow. Its light was a steady reminder, a reminder of cosmic order, a reminder of truth, a reminder of balance. The manjet bark sailed onward, through the heart of the duet, towards the dawn, towards the promise of a new day, a day won through perseverance, a day earned through light. The silent watchers of the duet observed them. They knew the struggle was far from over. But for now, peace had returned to the sacred waters. The journey continued. The light endured. The manjet bark carried its precious cargo. The sun, towards its ultimate triumph. The cosmic river churned. Its dark waters roiled with unseen menace. A sinister shadow stretched across the celestial current. This was Apophis. It was immense. Its scales shimmered with malevolent light. They were like obsidian shards. The air grew heavy. It hummed with dread. A deep, guttural growl vibrated through the very fabric of night. It was Apophis's challenge. The serpent of chaos prepared its final, most devastating strike. Its eyes, burning like twin infernos, fixed on the solar bark. They held pure, unadulterated hatred. This was the hour of Set. It was the fiercest battle. Apophis coiled its massive body. It gathered immense, destructive power. The river itself seemed to recoil. The divine vessel, once gliding serenely, now pitched violently. The celestial waves crashed against its hull. They threatened to engulf it. Ra, enthroned at the heart of the bark, remained steadfast. His golden aura pulsed with unwavering light. But even his divine presence could not entirely quell the rising terror. The monstrous maw of Apophis gaped wide. It was a cavern of darkness. It promised oblivion. Within its throat, swirling vortexes of shadow formed. They drew in all light. This was its ultimate weapon. It aimed to swallow the sun disk itself. It sought to plunge creation into eternal night. The gods on board braced themselves. Their faces reflected grim determination. This was the moment of truth. Then a sudden, explosive roar shattered the oppressive silence. It was not a roar of fear. It was a roar of defiance. Set, the unpredictable god of storms and desert chaos, stepped forward. His form was imposing. His eyes blazed with fierce resolve. He was a paradox. He was chaos fighting chaos. His skin, the color of the desert night, seemed to absorb the surrounding darkness. His jackal head was raised. It was poised for battle. Set was a formidable warrior. He wielded a great spear. It crackled with raw, untamed energy. This was his hour. This was his purpose. He stood at the prow of the bark. He faced the colossal serpent alone. His presence was a challenge. It was a direct affront to Apophis' might. The air crackled around him. It was charged with his volatile power. He was ready. He was unwavering. Apophis hissed. Its sound was like 1,000 serpents. It was a sound of pure fury. Set's audacity enraged it. It launched itself forward. Its immense body became a living tidal wave. It crashed towards the bark. The impact was imminent, but Set did not flinch. He met the assault head-on. His spear became a blur of motion. It struck Apophis's scales. Sparks flew. They illuminated the cosmic darkness. The serpent roared in pain. Its attack faltered. Yet Apophis was relentless. It renewed its assault. Its coils wrapped around the bark. They squeezed with unimaginable force. The divine vessel groaned. It strained under the pressure. The very timbers threatened to splinter. The gods struggled to maintain balance. Horus, with his falcon's keen sight, unleashed blinding light. It momentarily disoriented Apophis. Thoth, with his wisdom, chanted ancient spells. They wove a protective barrier around the bark. Isis, with her potent magic, conjured shimmering shields. They deflected the serpent's poisonous breath, but it was Set's battle. It was his raw power that truly held Apophis at bay. He lunged and dodged. He parried and struck. His movements were swift. They were precise. He was a whirlwind of controlled fury. He was the protector. Apophis's venomous fangs dripped with darkness. They snapped at Set. But Set was too agile. He was too quick. He moved with the unpredictable grace of a desert sandstorm. He was wild. He was untamed. One mighty coil of Apophis uncoiled. It swung like a colossal club. It aimed to crush Set. But Set, with a guttural cry, met it with his spear. The impact resonated through the cosmos. It was a clash of titans. The bark rocked violently. The gods stumbled. They struggled to regain their footing. The celestial river raged around them. It mirrored the intensity of the struggle. This was the fiercest battle. This was the hour of Set. Set pushed back. He channeled his chaotic energy. It surged through his spear. It pierced Apophis's thick hide. The serpent shrieked. It was a sound of agony. Its massive body flailed. It thrashed wildly. The bark was tossed about. It was like a toy in a storm. The gods clung to its railings. They fought to maintain their positions. The air was thick with magic. It was thick with the scent of cosmic dust. It was thick with the raw power of divine beings. Apophis, wounded, retreated slightly. It coiled again. It gathered its strength. Its eyes narrowed. They were filled with renewed malice. It prepared for its ultimate, desperate attack. It would swallow the sun. Set knew this. He braced himself. His muscles tensed. He prepared for the final confrontation. His spear glowed brighter. It pulsed with fierce determination. He would not yield. He would not falter. The other gods, though weary, rallied. They knew this was the critical moment. Osiris offered quiet strength. He radiated calm resolve. Nephthys provided silent support. She stood by her brother, Set. Hathor, with her gentle strength, radiated calming light. It soothed the turbulent waters. Mad, with her unwavering balance, ensured the bark remained true. She kept it on its destined path. Apophis lunged. It was a monstrous shadow. It was a living embodiment of destruction. Its maw opened wide. It was an abyss of pure darkness. It lunged for Ra's sun disk. It sought to devour the very essence of light. But Set was faster. He anticipated the move. With a mighty leap, he propelled himself forward. He became a blur of dark fury. His spear sliced through the cosmic darkness. It plunged deep into Apophis' gaping mouth. A deafening roar erupted. It tore through the night. It was a roar of pain. It was a roar of rage. Apophis writhed. It thrashed violently. Its colossal body convulsed. It was a force of nature unleashed. The bark was thrown sideways. It was almost capsized. The gods cried out. They fought to right the vessel. The celestial current churned into a maelstrom. It threatened to engulf them all. But Set held fast. He clung to his spear. He twisted it deep within Apophis' throat. He channeled all his volatile energy. He poured it into the wound. The serpent's struggles intensified. Then a brilliant flash of golden light erupted from the heart of the bark. It was Ra. His patience had reached its limit. His divine power surged forth. It was a wave of pure, unadulterated light. His golden aura expanded. It enveloped the entire bark. It pushed back against the encroaching darkness. Ra raised his hand. His eyes blazed with celestial fire. He unleashed a powerful, decisive blow. It was not a physical strike. It was a wave of pure solar energy. It pulsed with divine command. It struck Apophis directly. It hit the serpent's vulnerable core. It was a blow of ultimate power. Apophis shrieked. It was a sound of utter defeat. Its massive body recoiled. It convulsed. It began to shrink. The darkness within its maw dissipated. The swirling vortexes vanished. The serpent's scales lost their malevolent sheen. They dulled. They became lifeless. Apophis, temporarily subdued, began to sink. It descended into the cosmic depths. It was repelled. It was bound. The celestial river began to calm. Its waters smoothed. The oppressive dread lifted. The air grew lighter. The bark, though battered, remained afloat. It held true to its course. Set, breathing heavily, pulled his spear free. He stood triumphant. His form was still imposing. His eyes still blazed. But now, a quiet satisfaction settled upon him. He had fulfilled his paradoxical role. The other gods cheered. Their voices echoed through the calming night. They offered their gratitude. They offered their admiration. Set had saved them. He had saved the sun. Ra's light, though dimmed by the struggle, began to restore itself. It pulsed with renewed vigor. The passage was secured. The journey continued. The night was still long, but the greatest danger had passed. The divine bark resumed its stately progression. It glided through the now peaceful cosmic river. The stars above seemed to twinkle brighter. They celebrated the victory. They celebrated the dawn of a new day. The gods settled back into their positions. They were weary, but they were victorious. They looked at Set with new respect. He was the unruly god. He was the chaotic one, but he was also their protector. The memory of the fierce battle lingered. It was a reminder of the constant struggle. It was a reminder of the eternal vigilance required. Apophis would return. It always did. But for tonight, It was defeated. The celestial journey continued. It moved steadily towards the eastern horizon. The soft hum of the divine bark was a lullaby. It was a promise of the coming dawn. It was a promise of renewal. The air grew cool. It was a gentle caress. The cosmic river flowed onward. It carried them through the depths of the night. The stars above watched over them. They were silent guardians. This was the hour of Set. It was the fiercest battle. It was a testament to courage. It was a testament to strength. It was a testament to the gods' unwavering resolve. They protected the sun. They protected creation. Sleep now, little one. The battle is over. The sun is safe. The journey continues. The stars are shining. They are watching over you. They are watching over your dreams. Rest easy. Let your mind drift. Let your thoughts wander. Let them find peace. The night is a blanket. It is soft. It is warm. It is comforting. Close your eyes. Let your breath deepen. Let your body relax. Let your worries float away. They are like clouds. They are drifting. They are disappearing. You are safe. You are warm. You are loved. The journey through the night continues. It is peaceful. It is serene. It is leading to a new day. Dream sweet dreams. Dream of ancient gods. Dream of epic battles. Dream of journeys across the cosmos. Dream of light. Dream of peace. Sleep now, sleep deeply. Sleep soundly. The night is quiet. It is still. It is waiting for you. It is holding you gently. Good night. The great bark drifted onward, a silent, majestic vessel. Its timbers groaned softly, a low, mournful sound. The recent battle had taken its toll. Scars marred its golden hull. Yet it pressed forward, unwavering in its sacred duty. A gentle hum filled the air. It was the sound of magic, of restoration. Isis, ever vigilant, moved among the crew. Her hands glowed with soft, healing light. She mended shattered planks. She eased strained ropes. Her touch was a balm. Horus, though weary, stood tall. His falcon eyes scanned the dimness. He watched over the wounded. He offered quiet encouragement. His voice was a steadying presence. It soothed frayed nerves. Thoth, ever studious, consulted his scrolls. He charted their course. He murmured ancient incantations. His wisdom guided them. It ensured their safe passage. His quill scratched softly. The crew, brave and tireless, worked in unison. They patched torn sails. They tightened loose fittings. Their movements were slow, deliberate. Exhaustion clung to them like a shroud. Yet, a quiet resolve shone in their eyes. They knew their purpose. Ra, the mighty sun god, rested. His golden form pulsed gently. He had expended vast energy. The confrontation with Apophis had been fierce. He breathed deeply, steadily. His presence still warmed the air. He felt the subtle shifting of the cosmos. The duet, though dark, was slowly changing. A faint, almost imperceptible light began to filter through. It was the promise of dawn. It was a beacon of hope. The bark passed through the sixth gate. Its monumental arch loomed above them. It was less perilous than the previous ones. No monstrous guardians awaited them. Only silent, ancient carvings. They depicted the journey of souls. Quiet reverence filled the air. The crew bowed their heads. They honored the departed. They respected the sacred passage. The gate closed softly behind them. A gentle click echoed. Beyond the gate, the river widened. Its waters flowed smoothly. The air grew slightly warmer. A faint, sweet scent permeated the darkness. It was the fragrance of celestial lotus blossoms. They bloomed in hidden grottos. Ra stirred. He slowly rose to his feet. His eyes, though tired, gleamed. He looked toward the riverbanks. There, luminous figures began to appear. They were the souls of the righteous dead. They had completed their journey. They had passed the trials. Now they awaited their ultimate reward. Their forms shimmered with inner light. They smiled serenely. Their anticipation was palpable. Ra extended his hand. A gentle radiance emanated from him. It enveloped the waiting souls. It drew them closer. They floated toward the bark. Their movements were graceful, ethereal. He spoke to them softly. His voice was a comforting whisper. "Welcome, beloved children," he said. "Your trials are over. Your journey is complete." His words resonated with warmth. He offered them solace. He granted them peace. He shared his divine light. Their forms brightened further. They glowed with renewed vitality. They felt boundless joy. The souls ascended onto the bark. They settled gently among the crew. They became part of the sacred journey. Their presence brought a quiet joy. It was a testament to life. It was a promise of eternity. They did not speak. Their understanding was beyond words. They communicated through shared light. They radiated gratitude. They offered silent blessings. Their ethereal forms pulsed. The bark continued its unwavering course. It glided through the tranquil waters. The seventh gate appeared before them. It was less imposing than the others. It was adorned with gentle symbols. They depicted renewal and rebirth. This gate was not guarded by beasts. It was watched over by benevolent spirits. They were ancient, wise beings. They welcomed the bark. Their eyes held ancient wisdom. They nodded in silent greeting. The bark passed through effortlessly. The gate opened wide for them. A soft, golden glow pulsed within it. It was a prelude to the dawn. It was a sign of hope. Beyond the seventh gate, the darkness began to recede. It was a slow, gradual process. The air grew lighter. The shadows softened. A faint, pearlescent glow appeared. It was on the distant horizon. It was the first blush of dawn. It was the promise of a new day. It was still far off, yet its presence was undeniable. It filled the crew with renewed energy. They felt a surge of hope. The souls of the righteous dead watched. Their luminous forms shimmered. They bathed in the nascent light. They felt profound peace. Their journey was nearly complete. Their reward was near. Ra gazed upon the horizon. A faint smile touched his lips. He knew the cycle. He understood its rhythm. Apophis was never truly defeated. He was merely repelled. He would return. The great serpent would rise again. He would challenge the sun. He would threaten the cosmos. But for now, he was subdued. He writhed in the deepest shadows. His power was diminished. This understanding brought no despair. It brought quiet acceptance. It was the nature of existence. Light and darkness, order and chaos. They were eternally intertwined. The crew felt it too. The subtle shift in the air, the faint stirrings of renewal. They knew the struggle would continue. But for this moment, there was peace. There was the promise of dawn. Isis moved to Ra's side. Her touch was gentle. "The dawn approaches, beloved," she murmured. Her voice was soft, melodic. "Soon the world will awaken." Ra nodded. "Indeed, my dear," he replied. His voice was deep, resonant. "The cycle continues, as it must." He looked out at the brightening horizon. His gaze was steadfast. Horus joined them. His posture was still weary, but his eyes held a quiet fire. "We have prevailed, Father," he stated. His voice was firm. For now, my son," Ra affirmed. "And that is enough." He placed a hand on Horus's shoulder. A warmth passed between them. It was a connection of power. It was a bond of love. Thoth, ever practical, approached. He held a scroll unfurled. "Our course is true," he announced. His voice was precise. "The eastern gate is within reach." His eyes gleamed with satisfaction. The bark picked up speed. A gentle current carried it. The river flowed purposefully now. It was eager to reach its destination. It yearned for the sunlight. The air grew progressively lighter. The darkness retreated further. It clung only to the deepest recesses. It lingered in the shadows, but it was fading. The faint glow intensified. It painted the distant sky, hues of soft rose and gold. They blended seamlessly. They promised a glorious sunrise. The duet was transforming. The souls on board radiated joy. They danced silently. Their forms shimmered with delight. They anticipated their final ascension. They longed for the light. The crew, though still tired, felt renewed. A quiet elation filled them. They had faced the darkness. They had overcome the greatest threat. They had protected their Lord. They looked forward to the morning, to the sun's warm embrace, to the world awakening, to the renewal of life. Their hearts swelled with pride. They felt profound gratitude. The bark passed the 8th gate. It was a gate of pure light. No physical structure remained, only an archway of shimmering energy. It pulsed with divine power. This was the final threshold. It was the gateway to the waking world. It was the culmination of their journey. It was the promise of a new day. It was a beacon of hope. The bark entered the archway. It was bathed in brilliant light. The golden hull gleamed. The sails billowed gently. The crew stood tall. Their faces were illuminated. The souls of the righteous ascended. They floated upward. They merged with the light. Their forms became pure energy. They transcended the physical. They found eternal peace. Ra stood at the prow. His golden form blazed. He absorbed the light. He prepared for his return. He prepared to illuminate the world. He prepared for his daily duty. He looked back at the fading Jewett, a realm of shadow and challenge, a place of trials, a place of transformation. He honored its sacred purpose. He respected its ancient power. He knew he would return. Every night he would descend. Every night he would face Apophis. Every night he would undertake this journey. It was his eternal destiny. But for now, there was only the dawn, the promise of a new beginning, the renewal of life, the triumph of light over darkness. The eternal cycle continued. It was a comforting thought. The bark emerged fully. It floated above the horizon. The sky was ablaze, colors of crimson and gold. They spread across the heavens. They heralded the sun's arrival. The world below stirred. Birds began to sing. Flowers began to open. The air grew warm and inviting. Life awakened. It welcomed its creator. It welcomed the new day. Ra's form grew brighter. He prepared to ascend. He prepared to take his place. He would reign over the day. He would warm the earth. He would sustain all life. The crew stood ready. Their task was nearly complete. They had brought their lord home. They had ensured the dawn. They had safeguarded existence. Their loyalty was unwavering. Isis, Horus, Thoth, they stood beside him. They were his steadfast companions. They were his loyal protectors. They were integral to the cycle. They were part of the divine dance, the final moments of transition, the last vestiges of night. They faded into memory. They dissolved into light. The sun, glorious and triumphant, began its ascent. It was a quiet, profound victory, not with a roar, but with a gentle hum, not with a clash, but with a soft glow. The cycle had turned. The light had returned, and all was well. The air filled with warmth. A golden light spread. It touched every corner. It banished all shadows. It celebrated life. It celebrated renewal. The bark itself seemed to glow. It pulsed with residual magic. It had fulfilled its sacred duty. It had carried its precious cargo. It had traversed the darkness. The journey was almost complete. The eastern gate was behind them. The waking world lay ahead. A new day awaited. A world reborn. A world bathed in Ra's light. The gentle current carried them closer to the rising sun, closer to the new dawn, closer to the promise of life. The long night was over. Peace had returned. The deepest, softest darkness, a darkness of rest, began to yield. A faint, ethereal ethereal shimmer touched the edges of the Jewet's eastern gate. This was not the harsh glare of noon, but the gentle promise of dawn. It was a light born of victory, of balance restored. The bark of millions of years, Ra's magnificent vessel, began its slow, majestic ascent. It rose from the depths, from the very heart of the underworld. It floated upward effortlessly, as if carried on a current of pure hope. The air around the bark hummed with a quiet energy. It was a vibration of triumph, of battles won. The crew, the divine beings who had accompanied Ra on his perilous journey, stood in silent awe. Their forms, once weary with the night's long struggle, now radiated a serene contentment. Isis, with her knowing eyes, gazed eastward. Her lips curved into a tender smile. She had watched over Ra, protected him through the darkest hours. Her magic, her wisdom, had been a shield against chaos. Thoth, the ibis-headed god of wisdom, held his scroll close. He had recorded every challenge, every victory. His keen intellect had guided them through the labyrinthine paths of the underworld. Now, his face reflected a quiet satisfaction. Mad, the goddess of truth and cosmic order, stood tall and radiant. Her ostrich feather, symbol of perfect balance, glowed softly. Her presence ensured that harmony would return to the world. She was the very essence of justice. And there, at the bow, stood Ra himself. He was no longer the fierce warrior, the sun god battling the forces of darkness. He was the bringer of light, the promise of a new day. His form, though still divine, seemed softer, infused with a gentle warmth. A deep sense of peace settled over the bark. The journey through the Jewet was complete. The long night, filled with unseen dangers and ancient evils, was finally over. A new day waited, shimmering with possibility. The bark moved higher, passing through invisible thresholds. Each upward surge brought a subtle shift in the surrounding energy. The air grew lighter, infused with a fresh, clean scent, the scent of creation renewed. Below them, the last vestiges of the Jewet began to recede. Its shadowy landscapes, its echoing caverns, melted into the distance. They became faint memories, like a dream at the cusp of waking. Then a whisper of color touched the horizon. It was a delicate blush, a pale rose merging with soft lavender. This was the first true hint of the coming dawn. It was a painting, brushed by an unseen hand. The colors deepened, spreading across the vast canvas of the sky. The rose became a vibrant crimson, the lavender a rich violet. Streaks of fiery orange and molten gold began to appear. The eastern sky was transforming. This was the moment of emergence, the grand reveal. The bark of millions of years broke free from the Jewet's embrace. It ascended into the pre-dawn sky, a vessel of pure light against the deepening hues. The world below was still shrouded in slumber. Trees stood like silent sentinels, their leaves barely stirring. Rivers flowed softly, their surfaces reflecting the last faint stars. All waited for Ra's awakening presence. A collective sigh, unheard but deeply felt, seemed to rise from the sleeping earth. It was a sigh of anticipation, of longing for the warmth and light. The world remembered Ra, even in its deepest sleep. The sun itself, Ra's visible manifestation, began to peak above the horizon. It was not a sudden burst, but a gradual unfolding. A sliver of brilliant gold appeared, then a wider arc, radiating pure, untainted light. The light stretched across the sky, chasing away the remnants of night. The stars, once so luminous, began to fade. They retreated, like shy performers leaving the stage. Their time was over for now. The sun's light touched the bark first, bathing it in a golden glow. The divine beings aboard shimmered, their forms imbued with renewed strength. Their faces, once etched with weariness, now shone with quiet joy. Ra, at the bow, faced the rising sun, his own rising. A subtle smile played on his lips. It was a smile of profound peace, of a duty fulfilled. He had navigated the darkness, and now he brought the light. The sun continued its ascent, growing larger, more magnificent. Its rays spread outward, painting the clouds with strokes of fire and amber. The sky became a masterpiece, a celebration of color and light. Below, the world began to stir. A bird chirped, a single clear note, then another. A gentle breeze rustled through the leaves. The dew on the grass sparkled, catching the first rays of the sun. The sounds of awakening began to fill the air. The lowing of cattle, the distant bleating of sheep, the rhythmic splash of oars in a nearby river. Life, vibrant and renewed, was stirring everywhere. The warmth of the sun touched the earth. It was a gentle warmth, not yet the searing heat of midday. It was comforting, life-giving, like a soft embrace after a long, cold night. Ra watched it all, his gaze encompassing every detail. He saw the world come alive under his benevolent light. He saw the dew-kissed petals of a lotus flower unfold. He saw the first fish leap from the river. He saw the farmers beginning their day, their faces lifted to the sky. They welcomed his return, their hearts filled with gratitude. Their livelihoods depended on his daily journey, on the regularity of his rising. He saw the children, still asleep in their beds, soon to awaken. They would greet the new day with innocent wonder. Their laughter would soon echo through the villages. They, too, were part of his creation. The cyclical nature of his existence was clear. Each night, the battle. Each dawn, the triumph. It was an eternal rhythm, maintaining the delicate balance of the cosmos. Without his journey, chaos would reign. He was the embodiment of order, of the endless cycle of death and rebirth. His descent into the duat was a symbolic death. His emergence was a glorious rebirth, a promise of continuity. The gods on the bark shared his quiet contentment. They had played their part, each contributing to the victory. They had faced the darkness alongside him, unwavering in their loyalty. Isis reached out a hand, almost imperceptibly, and touched Ra's arm. Her gesture was one of deep respect, of profound love. She understood the weight of his burden and the glory of his achievement. Thoth nodded slowly, his eyes fixed on the rising sun. He was already contemplating the new day's tasks. There would be records to update, new knowledge to assimilate. The world was ever-changing. Mad stood serenely, her presence a calming anchor. She ensured that the cosmic order, disrupted for a time by Apophyse's assault, was now fully restored. Balance had returned. The bark continued its slow, majestic arc across the sky. It was now fully bathed in the sun's brilliant light. It glowed like a jewel, a beacon of hope for all of creation. The sky, once a canvas of pre-dawn colors, was now a vast expanse of clear, brilliant blue. High above, white clouds drifted lazily, like celestial sheep. The world was awake. The air was filled with the gentle hum of life. The rustling of leaves, the distant call of a bird, the soft murmur of human voices. It was a symphony of awakening, a chorus of existence. Ra felt a deep, abiding peace settle within him. The arduous journey was over. The forces of chaos had been repelled. The world was safe, for now. He had ensured another day. He knew that the battle would resume again when night fell. Apophis, the serpent of chaos, would rise once more. But for now, there was only light, only peace, only the promise of a new beginning. His gaze swept across the land, from the fertile banks of the Nile to the distant, shimmering sands of the desert. All was bathed in his light. All was under his watchful care. The warmth on his skin was gentle, familiar. It was the warmth of his own light reflected back to him. It was the warmth of gratitude from the world below. A sense of quiet triumph filled him. Not a boastful triumph, but a deep, knowing satisfaction. He had faced the darkness, embraced it, and emerged victorious. The bark of millions of years continued its journey, moving steadily westward. It would travel across the vast expanse of the sky, bringing light and life to every corner of the world. As the sun rose higher, its light grew stronger, more pervasive. It chased away every shadow, illuminated every hidden corner. The world was vibrant, alive, a testament to Ra's enduring power. The gods on the bark remained in their positions, serene and watchful. They were guardians of the cosmos, unwavering in their devotion. Their forms seemed to glow with an inner light. Isis smiled, a soft, knowing smile. She had witnessed countless dawns, countless battles. Each one was a reaffirmation of the cosmic order, a thread in the eternal tapestry of existence. Thoth made a final notation on his scroll. The record of this night's journey was complete. He would preserve this knowledge, ensuring that the lessons learned were never forgotten. Matt's feather shimmered, a perfect balance of light and shadow. Her presence guaranteed that the laws of the universe remained intact, that harmony would prevail. The gentle rhythm of the bark's movement was soothing. It was a silent lullaby, a promise of peace. The journey was long, but it was a journey of purpose. Ra closed his eyes for a brief moment, savoring the stillness. He felt the vastness of the sky above him, the sleeping earth below. He was the bridge between them, the very essence of life. The world was now fully awake, vibrant with sound and movement. The air was warm, filled with the scent of blossoms and damp earth. It was a perfect morning, a gift from the sun. He opened his eyes, and his gaze was clear, unwavering. He was ready for the day ahead. He would continue his journey, bringing light and warmth to all. The sun, now high above the eastern horizon, shone down with a benevolent intensity. Its rays touched everything, from the tallest mountains to the smallest blade of grass. The bark of millions of years, now a golden speck in the immense blue, continued its steady westward progress. It was a symbol of hope, a promise of continuity. The world below was bathed in light. Its colors were rich, its details sharp. It was a world renewed, vibrant and alive, ready for another day. And as the sun rose higher, casting its golden mantle over the land, a profound sense of peace settled over everything. It was the peace that comes after a long journey, after a battle won. It was the peace of knowing that all was well, that order had triumphed over chaos. It was the peace of a new day, stretching endlessly before them, full of promise. The gentle warmth of the sun was a comfort, a reassurance. It was a reminder that even after the darkest night, the light would always return. The bark of millions of years, carrying Ra and his divine crew, continued its silent, majestic journey across the sky. It was a testament to the enduring power of light, to the eternal cycle of life. And as the sun climbed higher, painting the world with its golden glow, the promise of a new day was fully realized. It was a day of warmth, of light, of life. The soft, gentle rhythm of the bark's journey was a lullaby. It was a promise of peace, of rest. The day had begun, and with it, the world was safe once more. Close your eyes now. Feel the warmth of the sun's gentle embrace. Listen to the quiet hum of the world. Let the peace of this new day settle over you. Drift into slumber, knowing that Ra has completed his journey. The light has returned, chasing away the shadows. All is well, and the world rests in harmony. Sleep deeply, peacefully, under the watchful gaze of the sun. For tomorrow, the light will return again, just as it always has, just as it always will. Rest now in the gentle glow of Ra's triumph. The night is quiet, and the world sleeps, safe and sound. If these whispers brought you rest, You're welcome to subscribe for more calm tales. A gentle, like also guides fellow night owls here.